and she will let you do missions, extra side missions. And you get a Diplomacy Commendation if you successfully complete the mission. I'll accept it. Where are the ambassadors? The Ambassador Vimok is next to the doorway of this room. It's Rigelian. The Ferengi Ambassador is at the bar. And Ambassador Surah was going to find somewhere peaceful to relax. And he's up on one of the upper decks. So we need to go all the way back and upstairs to speak to the first ambassador. If we can find that ambassador. There he is. Welcome to Starbase 39 Sierra. Welcome to you as well, young one. I suspect that you would like to have a conversation. Unfortunately, I fear my stay here will be brief. Unless the Ferengi become capable of equity in our dealings, I'm afraid there will be no point to my staying. Okay? Let's go back downstairs and see if we can speak to the other ambassador. There he is, the bar. Welcome to Starbase 39 Sierra. Hardly a welcome if you ask me. Harassed by the Federation, threatened by the Deferi, ignored by the Rigelian. You call this trade conference? I've seen more wheeling and dealing at a funeral. Speaking of funerals, I have 16 discs of the vacuum-desiccated remains of the great Ferengi poet Krex. I'm sure you remember his epic Ode to the Feel of Latinum in My Hands. It's a classic. Don't you want a piece of classic on your desk? It's a sacrifice, but I'm willing to part with it for a piece of Krex for a bar of gold-pressed Latinum. What do you say? Okay, so we didn't get an option to buy that or not. So now we'll go and find the other ambassador. I think he's just here. We would be pleased to proceed when all parties are ready to negotiate. Alright, welcome to Starbase 39 Sierra. Thank you, Lieutenant Commander. The Rigelians are most pleased to be part of this trade conference. It is our hopes that all parties are prepared to be reasonable. I will wait here. Please let me know when the talks are ready to continue. What can you tell me about Ambassador Ulish? He is typical Ferengi, which means he is devious and self-serving. Any deal with him is likely to be weighed in his favour, although this means he uses to do so are often quite ingenious. The Ferengi love to barter and negotiate, but you don't often see them at trade conferences such as this. I think they see them as two civilized, perhaps. For the most part, participants in conferences such as this one are looking for an equitable solution for all. It is like, what is the Earth expression? Fish in a barrel? I'm not entirely sure Ulish wants to be part of these talks, though. I get the feeling that he is looking for an excuse to leave. Tell me about Ambassador Surah. Surah of the Deferi. As we all know, Deferi, the most important things to Surah is balance. The Deferi are capable and eager to embrace all sides of any situation, as long as they feel everything ultimately reaches a state of equilibrium. That state may not be easily discernible to other races, but the Deferi are keenly attuned to it. Perhaps when you live as long as the Deferi do, you have the patience to see the balance of the universe unfold. Tell me about yourself. It is my task to be the voice of my people in this place. Rigel 5 has had a long friendship with the Federation, and today some of our brightest young people serve in Starfleet. We Rigelians are all on the spiritual journey, and every step we take must carry us forward towards enlightenment. To do otherwise would be to refuse the great gifts that the universe offers. Is there anything else we can offer for the tissue regenerators? What tissue regenerates? No, we have made our needs clear. Okay. Right, I've met the ambassadors. I'm glad you were able to find them all. Honestly, part of the reason I had you introduce yourself first was to make sure none of them had left the Starbase already. This entire conference is on the verge of falling apart, so here's the bottom line. The Federation needs tissue regenerators, which the Rigelians have in abundance. But the Rigelians won't accept Federation credits. They want land. Specifically, they want a planet near their home system for a new colony. The Deferi have the rights to just such a planet. Even better, they're not using it. Unfortunately, all trade talks with the Deferi has come to a screeching halt because of something the Ferengi have done. I've tried talking to the ambassadors, but they're shutting me out. I brought them here, so I guess they blame me for the conflict. Tensions are high and we need to do something. Maybe if you speak to the ambassadors, you can find out what's been going on and whether or not there's a way to salvage these talks. Right. So we need to go all the way back and upstairs to speak to the first ambassador. Right, let's speak to this ambassador. All things in balance, all things in time. Ambassador, I understand you are having a problem with the Ferengi. The Ferengi are unjust in their practices to me. There is no greater insult. Ambassador Ulish himself has authorized a heavy tariff on the Deferi Memto spice, the key ingredient to Deferi spice wine. The tariff itself is not the problem. The Ferengi Alliance unwillingness to share the profits equally is something that I cannot tolerate. Because of this, as long as the Ferengi are part of any Federation trade talks, we will not participate. Right, now we need to run all the way back and talk to Ulish. Ambassador Surah mentions an unfair tariff. Unfair? I've insulted. Adding a tariff to Deferi Memto Spice is just good for business. And let me guess, he's angry we aren't sharing our profits. Where is the business sense in that? I'm not stupid, you know. If I make a profit, I keep it. Still, in the name of trade relations, we might be willing to cut the tariffs if the Deferi will agree to give us exclusive rights to distribute their spice wine. If not, we may as well end these talks now. Cheerily, anyone paying attention should be able to see that the Ferengi are the aggrieved party here. We're being asked to give up everything for little reward. Okay. Let's go and offer the trade deal to Sarah. Here he is. Ambassador Ulish has a proposal. So his actual motive is finally clear. Surely this was his goal all along. The Ferengi lack the ability to replicate Deferi spice wine, and its value is far greater than the spice itself. Ulish continues to demand inequality in our dealings. We cannot allow it to continue. But beyond even that insult, one of the merchants with which we have regular, equitable dealings has suggested that Ulish's actions are not even legal. Surely the Federation has laws in place that prevent this sort of thing. From the small amount of information we were able to find, the Ferengi are breaking interstellar trade laws. One of my assistants did some research into this issue, but he was not able to come to a conclusion. Perhaps you can learn more. There's a computer terminal below us, near the door to the transporter room. If you wish to see these negotiations continue, then I suggest that you look into this matter. Rightio, so we need to find the terminal, which should probably just be down here. There we go, access the computer. Right, Trade Conference Ambassadors. Ambassador Surah. The representative of the Deferi Ruling Council. The Deferi are devoted to balance in all things, including their political alliances. They are neutral in all conflicts. Recent reports indicate that the Deferi feel that their previous dealings with the Ambassador Ulish and Ferengi have been unbalanced in the favour of Ferengi. All Deferi-Ferengi negotiations are threatened by this issue. Let's just go for the trade agreement. For the purposes of this act, the table that contains sub-items and symbols A through F and sub-items H through M is to be considered means by the Ferengi Commercial Authority. The fees are collected on imported goods containing Deferi Memto spice according to the proportions set forth in the schedules of tariff duties and attached agricultural calendar. Which means what? The Ferengi Commerce Authority, upon the request of the Ambassador Ulish, modifies the Deferi Memto spice fee provided for tariff include tariff schedule in duties and agricultural calendar attached in urgent circumstances based on the economic call for required protective measures of reciprocity. The levy on imported Deferi Spice was not included in the agenda of tariffs by the Ferengi Commerce Authority, as its value and frequency, as dictated by the schedule of duties, was not provide sufficient information and might have contradicted the attached agricultural calendar. There is additional information on the trade agreement, but it's practically indecipherable. Really. Does the Spice Agreement appear illegal? Compared to the other Ferengi contracts and existing interstellar trade laws, there is no clear answer. Ulish has modified other contracts in a similar fashion, and his amendments were deemed legal in the case of Ulish versus Dennis. However, in the similar case of Hazard versus Pretiv, agreements made under Provision 2 were ruled to be illegal, and Hazard was forced to pay restitution and damages. Conclusion: the trade agreement is falling into a grey area of the law and will require an actual trial to determine its legality. Ambassador Ulish. Representative of the Ferengi Alliance, Ulish has past dealings with Ambassador Surah of Deferi and been forced to maintain fair business practice to avoid alienating the Deferi. Recent reports indicate Ulish has altered some contracts he made with the Deferi. This issue endangers current trade negotiations. Additional information is available on Ambassador Ulish. Additional information. Ulish has a reputation of being a gambler and has been accused of dishonest business practices. The following holo recording was submitted by Starfleet Intelligence Operative 0127 immediately following Ulish's arrival at Starbase 39 Sierra. So the deal is set down as soon as this conference falls apart. We stand to make a hefty profit from the whole thing, and Starfleet will never know we played them for saps. Are you completely confident in your lackeys? I don't like the fact that I haven't met any of them. We need some kind of signal or sign in case the operation has been compromised. If things need to be called off, how about you send one of your assistants to me and offer me something basically worthless? Offer me entertainment provisions. Have you seen those things? The Federation doesn't even know how to set up a good Tongo game. Anyway, be careful, there are eyes and ears everywhere. We need to be sure that the dealings look as legitimate as possible. I don't mind burning my bridges with the Deferi, but Starfleet must never know what's really going on. Shh, somebody's coming. End recording. Right. Right, let's go up and speak to the Admiral.
Greetings. I'm very busy right now. Please contact me later.
Admiral, are there any entertainment commodities we can reallocate?
If it will help, you have my authorization to offer the Ferengi some entertainment commodities. I have new missions for you.
Right, now we should be able to go back and speak to the Ferengi, I believe. Main floor. Hopefully, and then that will resolve that mission. Admiral T'nae has authorized me to offer you entertainment provisions. Entertainment provisions? Oh, I see. Let me guess, this is in exchange for dropping the tariff we discussed earlier. It's not exactly what I was hoping for, but under the circumstances, I suppose I don't have any choice. but to agree, do I? Fine. The tariff will be dropped. I will make the arrangements with Lieutenant Commander Brocal. And let me give you a bit of advice, Lieutenant Commander. Never do business with a smiling Uridian. All you end up with is a box of party favours. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to be left alone. Right. Now, we need to go and give Ambassador Surah the good news. The Ferengi have agreed to lift the tariff. So the tariff is lifted with no further stipulations. That is excellent news, young one. With our species back in balance, we are willing to continue with the trade conference. Thank you, Lieutenant Commander. We will not forget your assistance in this affair. I'll give Ambassador Vimok the good news. Thank you. I'm sure he will be most happy to hear it. Right, let's go and give Ambassador Vimok the good news. I have good news. The Deferi have agreed to our terms. Excellent. I am pleased that an understanding could be reached. We will continue with the trade negotiations. The Federation will get the tissue generators they need, and we will have our new world. Right. Let's turn that in. Without standing honour. Finally, the trade conference can get started. You averted a major diplomacy incident here today, Lieutenant Commander. Thank you so much. Right, and we get the commendation. Continue.